Turn the lights back on. Wow. Retro electro tech. When real audio ruled the world.
Greetings once again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Retro Ernest of Retro Electro Tech, and some of you know I run a full-time audio repair shop in the state of Maine. I'm originally from Southern California, and to be more specific, I specialize in what is now classified as vintage audio. So, I wanted to touch on the topic, as to whether or not running an audio repair shop in this day and age is profitable. Can you make a living from it? Those that might be contemplating it. Some say that you can't make a living in this business anymore because of the changes that occurred in the industry a long time ago, and that it's all dried up. And I'm not going to get into all those details, but those of us who have been around long enough know that yes, the audio repair industry isn't what it was during the heyday of, what I refer to as the golden age of audio. Back in the heyday of Pioneer, Marantz, Sansui, Kenwood, and so forth, and the days of, the monster receivers and the stereo wars and all that stuff that you hear it referred to as. And, people will say, well, yeah, the service industry has dried up and the tech was smothered out of existence. The service tech, the electronics technician that specialized in audio repair, audio servicing, and all that kind of died with it. But some aspects of that are true, like I said, but I do this full time. I make a living off it. I turn a profit. And why is that? I'll get into that a little bit. And again, I'm going to try to keep it as short as I can, but this isn't one of those bullet point kind of topics. And what I will say about making it in this business is, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, long hours. Running a small business in this day and age, or any time, has never been easy, but especially now, the hyperinflation, hypertaxation, just the tremendous cost of living. Every time that heater goes on, which, by the way, pardon that, I know it's loud, it's got quite a beefy blower on it, and it lets you know that it's on and running, that's for sure. But every time that turns on, it's cha-ching, and hundreds of dollars every month to heat, hundreds and hundreds of dollars every month to eat. Breathing costs money. It's ridiculous, this cost of living and all that. But people are still out there making money. They're doing it, and they have money. They're spending it, and that's why my business is successful. Ultimately, there's demand. And on that topic of demand, I have people contact me all the time from all over the world, all over the United States, here locally. I receive a lot of emails, people contacting me via my submission form on my website. I guess that's the same thing, pretty much. Telephone calls, people come in. I have a pretty extensive waiting list, actually a very extensive waiting list. Lots of equipment. What you see on the racks behind me is just a fraction of what shows here in the shop, and I have equipment stored in my other shop. I have an old 1850s home with a large section of finished basement that used to be my shop. I store equipment there as well because I don't want to clutter up the floor, and I don't like to squeeze by stuff, trip over stuff. The point is, a lot of equipment, a lot of intake, a lot of demand. A lot of people tell me when they call me, well, there's not a lot of you guys around. Yeah, there used to be audio repair shops, TV repair shops on just about every corner, and a lot of people are gone. Businesses have dried up as the technology changed and people moved on to other things. But there's always been those that still use their old stuff and have always kind of been into their old stuff, especially musicians with their old tube amps and vintage synth gear. You see me working on that stuff. There's always been a lot of work, even before this revival, if you will, of turntables and people getting into vinyl again, or people just getting into it for the first time, the younger generation. and people experimenting for the first time, or maybe getting back into resurrecting their old, receiver or amps, or whatever, receivers, amps, and all that stuff. The list goes on and on and on. And some people just are sentimental about their gear. They want to keep it running, and that's another story. And but people are willing to pay the money. That's the point. And I am not cheap. I don't believe in that. I'm not gonna cut myself short on that, or undercut myself and scrape and scrimp and all that when I have the skill set that I have, and I specialize in what I specialize, and I work on gear meticulously, and I've built a reputation and all that. No specialist should have to sell themselves short, and that's ridiculous. And that's why the mindset in this business it really needs to change. But what I'm talking about again is reinventing the wheel when it comes to doing business in this day and age, and how to look at that, so that you're viable, and you're out there, and you're educating prospective customers on what actually needs to be done, what is the reality now in regard to bringing this equipment back to its former glory days, and squeezing the best you can out of a piece of equipment so that it operates at its full potential as far as the fidelity of it and the reliability of it and so forth. And I'll touch on that a little bit more as I go along, but that's a big part of it. But probably the biggest takeaway, I think, and I just want to say something real quick, is that I'm a child of the 70s. I was sowing my wild oats in the 80s, and I'm fond of those times. I have a lot of good memories that surround those eras, and I really dig the equipment, the audio gear. That's what I grew up with, so that's why I do what I do. I started out with my father, working on electrical systems and electronics, and control systems, automation of the time, and I learned circuit theory from my father, electronics and electrical theory. We worked on a lot of stuff, a lot of interesting equipment, machinery, so forth, and all that. And I learned that when I was a kid. I gravitated to audio, and it makes sense now looking back, in retrospect, where I am. But the point is that what I'm doing now, at least the roots of the business are from a bygone era, but I've taken the best of that era, and I think the best of it being lessons I learned from my father as far as business ethics and dealing with customers, connecting with people, and brought that into the here and the now during a time where that's becoming kind of a lost art in and of itself, is communicating with people and good customer service. So I take the time to talk to people. They come into the shop, we'll have some tea, some coffee, whatever. If we click, we'll sit and talk. If they want to take the time, talk about life, talk about audio, talk about the good old days, whatever, connect. I do that on the phone as well. And some might say, well, technically you could use your time more efficiently and communicate with people by email and spend more time at the bench and hide your phone number and all that. Well, no, that's not going to happen. You do that, you're shooting yourself in the foot. And the business model of today, I'm not saying that in all cases it promotes hiding behind a website, but I think a lot of it does. I think people have utilized this technology of today to hide and pull their number off of a website, create their little submission forms, and so forth, contact us that way or by email, or a little virtual assistant kind of thing that pops up. That's kind of hokey, but whatever. Anyways, nothing could substitute communication with a customer, and taking the time to value them, to learn about who they are a bit, talk a little bit, connect, and kind of build a relationship, sometimes even beyond just somebody bringing in a stereo receiver to repair. I've met some cool people that I'm still in touch with here locally. A few people that I consider, some pretty nice acquaintances and friends and all that. Some audio people that are pretty cool cats, and do some work on some of the equipment for the radio stations and all that stuff. But what I'm getting at is that there's no substitute for it, and any business that thinks that that's a good practice is sorely mistaken. And the technology that is available today is kind of cool, like what I'm doing now, making a video so that people can kind of check it out and maybe extract some information from it. The video I did on vintage audio repair and restoration expectations in this day and age, so that people can get an idea of what's actually involved in the repair and restoration of what is now vintage audio, and the reality of that and what needs to be done. And I'm not going to go into that because there's information out there. Like I said, I have a video on the YouTube page about that. You just scroll around, you'll find it if you're interested in that topic. And customers do, prospective customers actually comment about that and say, wow, that was good to know. And of course, some people just want to know, hey, can you fix this? Yes or no? What is it going to cost? And a lot of times it's not that simple. Sometimes I need the time to explain things to them. And as it should be, a customer should know why they're spending their money and what they're getting out of it. And a lot of people will contact me and say, hey, I watched some of your videos. I see the way you work. I really like the way you work. I see how you take care of equipment. You pad everything. You're meticulous in the way you do your work. And I want you to work on my stuff. So people do take notice of that. But I just want to bring that up because those are the things that determine success versus failure when it comes to a business, any business, but especially a business like this. Yeah, vintage audio repair and restoration in 2024 in the modern age, and we're surrounded by different technology now, but people want to gravitate to find vintage audio, good examples and good specimens, and experience it. Yeah, but even before the revival, like I said, of vinyl and people kind of checking it out for the first time, the younger generation getting into it, and older people getting back into it. Even before all that, there was always plenty of work. Like I said, demand is high. People from all over the world contacting me, practically clawing at my door to get me to work on their stuff, and really extensive waiting list. As far as restoration work goes, bigger restoration work that requires a lot of time and all that, and I have to schedule a lot of that out because I can't do that right at the moment. But I still do those quicker wham bam thank you Sam repairs when the equipment warrants it. But again, that's if the equipment will hold up okay, and there's not a big train wreck going on in there. And I explain this stuff. I don't want to divert too much. It's hard with a video like this to just cover one thing and one thing only, because there's so many different trails that branch off of this topic, because it all has to do with the viability of this business. How you educate prospective customers, clearly educate prospective customers so they understand the reality of what's involved, and that way they understand why they're spending the money they're spending. I'm not cheap. Like I said already, I'm not going to sell myself short. I provide premium restorative work, very conscientious, very meticulous restorative work. And I jokingly say sometimes I'm not an electronics tech anymore as I wave my wand, and I'm a preservationist of vintage audio.
Wow.
And that's actually true. So the mindset, and not selling yourself short, and undervaluing yourself, undervaluing your skill set. And people tell me all the time, hey Ernest, I appreciate what you do. Yeah, you're not cheap, I know that, and you shouldn't be. People tell me that. Actually, real human beings tell me that. Customers, they don't say, oh, you're too expensive and all that, because I don't rip people off. That's not a thing. I don't employ scare tactics. I don't rip people off. I just give them the facts, and I tell them what's going on with equipment in this day and age, and what it really needs if you want to bring it back to spec anyways. you know, the point I'm getting across is that being successful in this day and age, turning a profit, yes, it can be done. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears, hard work, and being connected with your customer base, and not being caught in that loop that, well, you know, I can't charge because people don't want to pay that, and you know, this mindset of being stuck in you know, in another time. And like I said, I really dig that era. I have fond memories of it, but I understand that I have to do business in 2024 and reinvent that part of the wheel, and view myself as a preservationist of vintage audio. And even though, you know, I know I'm a tech, but you know, just the mindset, preservation, the amount of work that needs to be done now that the gear is 40 plus, you know, even 50 years old or more. I mean, I've got older gear in here from the, you know, 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and the amount of work that needs to be done. So why would you sell yourself short and sit there and say, well, I can't turn a profit? You can't make a living in this business. If there was no demand, yeah, you wouldn't be able to make a living, but there is so much demand. So for the people that are still doing this, if you can't make money doing it, and even when there was a lot of people, a lot of shops and techs on every corner, everybody was getting their cut of the pie, making money. You know, if you worked hard enough and you were good at what you did and you turned out good work, and people came to you and you had a reputation, man, you were swamped with work even then. I just don't get it. You know, people that naysay and, well, you know, you can't do it. Don't sell yourself short. Don't be scared to charge. Be confident in your pricing so that you can keep up with the demand of today. And there's a lot of demand. So that's what I wanted to say in this video, really, is the gist of it. So I'm just going to leave it at that, 20 minutes long, 21 minutes, whatever. Long enough. I could go on and on because there's a lot of aspects to it, you know, talking to people about, you know, educating the customer, prospective customer, about what needs to be done, you know, electronic components within your equipment, they drift out of tolerance and so forth and so on, and why that is, and da-da-da, and educating them if they want to know, so that they understand, yeah, I get it, okay, I understand why, and yeah, that's a lot, you know, collectively speaking, that's a lot of stuff you have to go in and assure is working properly, it's, you know, within spec, so that this thing sounds great like it used to, so that it's operating reliably, explaining all this stuff to people. Yeah, I mean, it's up to the tech to do that. It's up to the tech to reinvent themselves, to rebrand themselves, to be viable in this day and age. Not to be discouraging, but a lot of work. It can be done. I do it. You know, the mindset has to change. You can't get stuck in that negative loop, and you know, it can't be done, and you know, I can't charge. People don't want to pay. I have people all the time that tell me, Ernest, I'm not going to tie your hands. I know you charge what you charge. I just want this restored. I want it done right. I get a lot of customers that actually tell me what they want. I don't even have to say too much. Just, hey, I want this restored. I want you to recap this. I want you to, it's like, wow, yeah, you've done your homework. You know that this old equipment needs a lot of work to bring it up to a standard that we want it to be elevated to, as opposed to just Band-Aid work and all that. So there you go, guys. I'm going to leave it at that. And as I always say, peace, love, music, and the vintage audio that brings it to your ears. Till next time, you all take care.
This is a poor man's shoe production.